Welcome to America's #1 Cincinnati-based museum podcast. Meanwhile, at the museum, the show that takes you, no one can dispute it, the show that takes you behind the scenes of Cincinnati Museum Center and beyond. Over there on the ones and twos, we have our producer, Magic Mitch Seifert.
Hey, and I just wanted to note, I'm glad you had that reaction because he's been making that claim for a while now, and no one's called him on it.
Yeah, it's like the best drummer in this band.
Listen, first off, I'm Cody Hefner. Okay, I'm a man of dignity and integrity, and I did some quick research, and I think we were one of, or maybe the only museum podcast active in Cincinnati, so it holds true. Unless there's someone in like Portland, either Maine or Oregon, who has a podcast exclusively about Cincinnati museums,
and they're just doing
just like killing on numbers, then maybe we might be America's #2 Cincinnati-based museum podcast. But until anyone writes in at meanwhile@cincymuseum.org, we're going to go with it. Besmirching our good name is our guest today. You may recognize the voice. We have Mark Borison. Mark, how would you succinctly give yourself an intro?
I don't think I would.
How would you introduce yourself?
Nothing I do is succinct, Cody. Host of the Jungle Gyms podcast, actor, mostly commercial actor, a little TV, little film. The Jungle Gyms podcast is the big one for me, obviously. I get to, you know how this is. You're also doing a show for a legendary establishment in the Cincinnati area.
Yeah. So you said commercial actor. Mm-hmm. So you've done no industrial work, no residential acting,
just no
commercial only.
I guess one of them may have been a
your
little
zone.
blend.
Your zone for commercial acting
I'm
only.
Purely licensed and zoned. Oh my gosh, I knew this was going to be fun. But you are correct. The closest I came was one of the cicada heating and cooling ads I did a few summers ago that got me the suit, and that was just in somebody's backyard. And I was like, I'm not really sure what this is for. And then later they're like, oh, we're like an air conditioning company. I'm like, great. I usually don't ask a lot of questions so long as the check clears, you know?
So why would you?
Yeah, no, exactly.
The cicada costume is perfect timing.
I know, right?
What was the fitting for that? Like, I mean, you always see in movies and stuff where you have someone in a really high-end tailor and they, the pins in the mouth and everything getting fitted. Is this a bespoke cicada suit?
I wish it was. So
did it take 17 years to make?
The story, they told me that. It was crazy. And then it was encased in this hard shell. And then when you broke it open, it like came out. It was way more colorful. I found it fascinating. Different broods of suits. The story I was told is that
it had a thin candy shell.
Which I'm still continuing to bite through every day in my office. I'm trying to see if I can get Jungle to put it on display near the bug candy.
Yeah.
In like a little clear case, like the bat suit. But then if I need to use it, I'm like, just let me have access, like put it on my key so that I can also get to it if need be.
Like as a kid, did you take the cicada shells and like stick them to your shirt and everything?
Like, when I am a Cincinnati transplant, so I only dealt with like the easy versions of cicadas, like when they came out like the 2000s.
Yeah.
I think maybe they should have once awful when I first got here, but I can't, it all blurs together. And then whenever I tell people that story, they're like, that was in the 80s, Mark. I was like, well, I wasn't here in the 80s, so then maybe my memory's wrong. But then I think about who I'm telling the story to, and I'm like, no, my memory's definitely right. But no, I'm like a little, not scared of the bugs, but like I'm definitely not. I was the Star Wars boy, not the touch of mud boy.
Well, if you're a transplant, I mean, any amount of cicadas is probably a lot to you.
It's surprising regardless.
So you putting on the cicada suit, being slightly afraid of the bugs, is the equivalent of Batman like trying to work out his what's bat phobia.
So right.
I mean, it's like, oh boy.
It felt like that. You mentioned that growing up when I was like a big Spider-Man fan. I had friends who were like, dude, you are so afraid of spiders, but you love Spider-Man. I was like, yeah, he does not have 8 legs and is not sitting in like the corner of my room waiting for me. If I saw Tobey Maguire up there, I would also be suspect of him, But the funny thing about the suit, it was made for the John Oliver show, they told me.
Really?
And there's a clip on John Oliver of some guy wearing the suit, and I'm like, it looks identical. I can't imagine they made a lot of these, But like, what's the market for cicada mascot suits, right?
Cincinnati could probably sustain 3 cicada suits. At least, right? So
me, Mitch.
There we go.
We got the suits, guys. It was like $4,000 to make.
Wow.
Really?
And there was no fitting process because it's just like a giant mascot costume. So they're just kind of like, if you're not the fattest person on the planet, you should be fine.
Yeah.
And it's the whole back, it's just clipped together with a couple of like simple plastic clips. It's kind of, dare I say, comfortable for what it is, right? Like they had a real mascot on that commercial and he was like a guy in a dinosaur costume. And I'm like, oh, wow, that's like a really great suit. But the level of like, I mean, he was definitely hot in there. I imagine doing these games, it was crazy. And the dude,
it was Nelly.
He was awesome, right? Yeah, exactly. No Saint Lunatics on set, please.
Are you a Team Saint Lunatics fan?
No, that was the only reference I had when I heard you say Nelly.
I mean, you've got Mace. Who else is a Saint Lunatic? My wife and I have had this conversation before. Is it like East Coast, West Coast, or St. Louis? I think you could group it into Midwest because you pull Eminem down from Detroit.
Okay, yeah. Where do you think he lies?
Ooh, like if he's St. Louis, East, West.
If he's picking one of the three options. I'm guessing he's probably going to go.
He's probably West, right?
I'm guessing.
Forgot about Dre.
Yeah, that is good. That makes sense. Yeah, I didn't even think. That's like a stupid question now that I hear the answer.
That's weak. We can cut it.
No. Look, one of my favorite things is being publicly stupid so that people learn two things. One, it's okay to be wrong if you're willing to be wrong. And also, I'm wrong often. That's the second message I'm always trying to get through.
You are like a sneaky good motivational speaker.
That's the plan. I was hoping to be like a cult guy, but like a good cult. You know what I mean?
Like a feel-good cult where it is just Kool-Aid.
Yeah, it's just high fives. Yeah, exactly. I love a sugary
Ecto
beverage.
Cooler.
Oh my gosh, I would go crazy if I could get my hands on Ecto Cooler again. To be 2016 again.
It's been discontinued since 2016 because you're the guy with the inside knowledge on every food product out there,
I'm
right?
trying to be, at least. Yeah, if they won't write back to me, I then just start being a little snarkier in my posts. I'm like, guess what? I didn't really think it was that good after all.
Now, wait, quickly back to the cicada.
Mm-hmm.
Could you put that cicada suit on like the big cheese?
I think it would be too. Well, actually, maybe. But the problem is the big cheese.
You just
got
cut
a little
the cheese,
funk
right?
on it. Yeah, we just cut it right
Who
while
cut the
I was
cheese?
gone. Depending on the day. But no, like the whole cheese department and like a bunch of our lot crew comes and helps whenever that happens. Because you imagine 900 pounds of provolone is quite a feat to cut through.
How do you cut it? What do you use?
Literally, they have these. So what they'll try to do at first, I joke, they're just like cheese axes. They'll start there because, I mean, again, it's like, 20 feet tall probably, something like that.
It's like a Paul Bunyan string cheese at that point.
And I brought my blue oxes with me today to help carry it in. They like pull it down. They'll cut it into somewhat, I say manageable, but that's still a bit of a misnomer, but more manageable chunks.
Yeah.
And then we have these, I don't know what they're called, but I think they are cheese slicing tools officially, but it's almost like a big ribbon wire that you slide a piece in and then you can pull it down and it slices through very cleanly. It's honestly one of my favorite tools to use in the store.
Do you have like Cold War assassins who are using this piano wire to cut the cheese? Like at that point,
I'm going to ask you to change your line of questioning today, Cody. Yes, emphatic yes.
I'm imagining that or two guys with a saw just.
Well, meanwhile, I'm in there trying to ride it like the end of Doctor Strangelove as he's riding the bomb down. I was like, that's awesome. And they're like, Mark, you can't sit on the cheese. People eat this. I'm like, all right. Well.
Or Steve Buscemi and Armageddon, right? Love that.
I was wondering how long it would take for us to get into mid-90s references. The whole way up, I was like, I got to brush up on all my SNL commercials.
Oh, I have so many. I have so many, and some are legit. Most of them aren't. But before we move off cicadas, I do want to hear your best cicada impression.
Sorry. That definitely clipped.
A little bit.
I'm so sorry.
That's all good.
The whole ad, they had me just screaming at people. That was like the whole bit, is that I was outside screaming and doing opera and all kinds of stuff like that. And they're like, cicadas are pretty annoying. Get our good AC and sit in your house this summer. I was like, it's actually a great idea for an ad campaign.
It's so good.
Shout out Fire and Ice Heating and Cooling.
So we actually have you're a museum visitor. I wonder if you've noticed this in our science museum, in our John A. and Judy Ruthven Get Into Nature Gallery. There's actually a section where you can make these bug sounds, like
oh, really?
Like you move this slider over these ridges, and it's like a katydid and crickets and stuff like that. You can make all these sounds. It's kind of fun. But
that is fun. We should go. I'm going to go get in the suit and go do that
We're-
and then see who's worse. Who the kids hate more.
Who did it better? So you...
I'm so glad this is how I started my day today. Thank you truly for having me here.
No, we're thrilled to
Happy
have
to
you.
have
This
you,
is
yeah.
wonderful. Jungle Gyms. How long have you been there? How'd you get into this?
So silly. I'll be there officially 4 years this August. I met them, though, about a year prior in 2020. And at the time, I love telling this story because I'm always like, 2020 was like everybody had the worst year ever, except for me, baby. I was having a great time. And I was like, you mean the company I work for sells work from home and they have me making our videos in my living room? Boom, great.
Already set up.
Yeah, my old boss was really lenient and cool with us in that regard, at least for our team. Like that was always my experience. I was like, this is great. And he took really good care of me while I was home. It was awesome. And I start booking all these commercials, which I'm shocked because I didn't think much was shooting. And then everything that came across my table, I was like, I booked it. I was just having a great time, right? So I just finished this campaign for Pepsi in the NFL. And it was funny because they shaved me very strangely. I had like tiger stripes in my hair, and I was like close to bald. It was it was a fun time because I'd always wanted to know, but I was afraid of losing my hair. But I was like, will I look tough if I ever have to work as a security guard? And the answer is more than I thought I would.
Okay, nice.
I was pretty happy about it. I was like, oh, this is a whole different guy.
Did you get to keep the beard or how?
Yes,
how'd
they
you-
kept
okay.
the beard in.
Nice.
But then they had me shirtless in the video, which is always very funny. There's so many stories. I'm like, oh my gosh, I have so many of them. I'll try to keep it as succinct as possible. So I do this ad, and right around this time, I guess at some point they let me post the fact that I was bald online, and everyone's like, what the hell are you working on? And so I'm trying to hide this. And then around that same time, one of my mutual friends, he's like a marketing guy, and he's like done a lot of stuff. He actually made the Jungle Gyms jacket that I have that matches my studio wall. But his name's Christian. Christian was like, man, I heard a rumor Jungle Gyms is trying to do a show of some sort. He's like, I think you got to be the guy. And I was kind of like, I don't know, man. Like, I'm really seeing all the success on the acting side. I was going to move. I was just like, and there's been this weird thing in my career, whereas every time I try to leave Cincinnati, some incredible opportunity will present itself. Like right before this, it was the Pepsi ad. I was like, oh, I'm not leaving yet.
Yeah.
And I kept thinking, I was like, I've done all these big brand ads and I'm happy, but I want to see what the next, I'm like, oh, if I'm killing it here, maybe I'll kill it in like, I say a real city, but a real city with regards to my career goals, right?
Right, for the-
like
right, yeah.
in LA and Atlanta, one of those.
From a show business perspective,
Exactly. Yeah. Cincinnati's great, but it's not a showbiz town yet. It could be still. Maybe we'll see what happens. So anyway, he connected me with someone there. I sent them my resume, which you can imagine is also really colorful and a little, I wouldn't say it's unprofessional. It's like the exact same content, but it looks fun. And I think some people in suits are just like, yeah, I don't like that. But I got the call. Actually, the best part is Jungle's assistant calls me, and it gets caught by my Google Pixel, the call screening feature. So I'm just seeing it, and it's in real time transcribing it. She's just like, oh my God. And then it's like, WT, it's like, what the F? Oh, F this. And I'm like, oh my God. And I'm just reading like, answer, like, hello. And it was fine. And she jokes to this day with me. She's like, it almost cost you the job. But they brought me in, and I'm in like crazy tiger striped hair. I wore a hat because I was so embarrassed. Because I'm thinking, like any other place, right? Like it's this kitschy, weird art installation, but I'm going to go upstairs to the office, and it's just going to be every other corporation.
button up, yeah.
Yeah. And it's visually buttoned up, but it's not that way at all. And I went into this interview, and I had this great time with Jungle and everybody. And yeah, they were like, what would you do if you had a show? And I went in there, again, thinking it's going to be a corporate button up when I have this list of like, who's your target customer? Who are we trying to reach with this? What are your goals? And they're just kind of like, all right, easy, nerd. Tell us something cool. And I'm like, oh my God, I love these people. And their pitch to me was like, we don't really want this to be like an ad show. We kind of think the inherent nature of it being the Jungle Gyms podcast will make it an ad. They're like, so what we want you to do is to make it fun and cool. And I was like, oh, I hope I can do that, and it's been great. They've been awesome to work for, and it's crazy. I mean, imagine a legend like Jungle Jim is like, I'm going to build you a monument to yourself right in the entrance of my legendary store, and someone saying no to that,
Yeah.
It's crazy. Every day I walk in, I'm like, oh my God, I'm on the TV again. It's crazy,
Have you ever got to swing with the Campbell soup can?
I'm still working on it, waiting on clearance from insurance. I'm sure it's a nightmare. I always heard the story behind that was so funny. It was like one of those, Jungle came home, because Jungle like all but lives in the store. Like he's there all the time. He's incredibly invested in the business. I love that. And I love that he's like still so behind so many parts of this.
He
And
just like covers himself up with cereal boxes. Just like
he's got costumes. It's a different costume. It's like you're like, oh, it's the wizard today. It's the NASCAR driver. It's the steampunk jungle. Like it's like you bought Fortnite DLC. I mean, seriously, that's how it feels. And
Jungle has a new skin today.
I mean, seriously, you're like,
I unlocked the new jungle skin. Cool.
I keep pitching that I want us to do something with it. We had bicycle playing cards do a commercial in the store here recently, and we have a pretty good relationship with them. But I was trying to pitch them on. I want to do a set of cards where it's all jungles, all the face cards, but it's just like different jungle costumes. I was like, that would sell itself, I think. Guys.
That's amazing.
Yeah,
for sure, people would buy
I'm
that.
sending him this clip too, just to be like, by the way, guys, I haven't forgotten.
We're big fans of goofy costumes here in the CMC marketing department.
That's what I love. Every time I see Cody on the news, I'm just like, I knew we were gonna get along.
Much to Elizabeth's chagrin sometimes. But listen, we've been pretty economical with the costume budget, and it's it is silly, and it has gotten to the point where I will walk into a studio and people are like, "There's no costume today."
Yeah.
Cody, why aren't you dressed up? And I'm like, "Oh, I'm not on air. I'm just here to help this person who's going to be like, oh." Like, oh,
I get it too.
We kind of thought you'd be doing something like entertaining or goofy. I was like, well, not everything can be, but
I think everything can be, but I don't think you need a costume for that. I think some of that is just in you, and I love you for it.
it is. I mean, you've done.
Well, you said the same
so
thing to
many.
me today. You're like, oh, you're not very colorful. I was like, I actually thought I was kind of colorful today. I got slimy Ghostbuster shoes on.
I know. You have the the Ghostbusters 2 where they fall in the sewer and they hate each other.
These are my River of Slime shoes. I don't clean them very often. I like a little negative psychic energy or whatever.
Vigo scared the crap out of me as a kid.
Same.
That dude was scary. And if you looking back, they're like, what if a creepy Carpathian kidnaps a baby?
Yeah. Like, that's the plot. I think
Like-
that's why Bill Murray was mad about the movie.
They're like, well, how? Like what? Like modern day? No. He'll be in a painting and he's going to use like goo to do it.
Yeah.
And they're like,
They're like, is everything okay with Dan Aykroyd? I think he's still writing at this point. And I imagine him just pitching it that very, we're going to put him in a river of goo, like that really quick Chicago voice, You're like, okay, Dan, whatever, man.
I remember Dan Aykroyd came to Jungle Gyms once with the Crystal Skull vodka or the Crystal Vodka.
So when I first started, I was going through all kinds of archival footage because like when I first came in, I was like, all right, let's figure this all out. I'm going to try to learn you guys. I'm going to get a feel for the story. They were like really open-minded with that. So they gave me access to all the archives and there's so much funny stuff in there. But the Dan Aykroyd one was like the third video. Once I saw it in the list, I was like, oh, we're watching that now. I'm going through it. I saw this girl I used to date showed up for it. I was kind of like, you didn't even tell me Dan Aykroyd was in my neighborhood. You don't even live here, And I so regret missing that. And I kind of keep hoping. I'm like, hoping he'll
got to
get
come
through.
back, right?
I just want to hear him say, what's he filtered through? Herkimer diamonds. But in the Dan, he's always like, it's filtered through Herkimer diamonds. And I'm just like, can you just say that a bunch into these mics?
It's filtered through Herkimer Diamonds by the American Working Man because that's who I am and that's who I make vodka for.
He should have done the whole ad in character from Tommy Boy. That would have been amazing.
What? Oh, Zelensky?
Yeah, Zelensky.
Zelensky was his name in that.
Yeah, I was trying to think of it too, and I was like, I got nothing. Hopefully Cody knows.
This whole thing's like 2 degrees of Jungle Gyms. Like, it doesn't take long to get it back.
Exactly. The opportunities are almost endless, and there are so many connections. And at the end of the day, right, the base level, it's like we all like food. Like, even if you're picky, you have something you love.
Yeah.
And then it just, goes from there. But, it does seem to connect back to almost everything. And I think my job a little bit is to be the guy that's like, let me shake a few more of those hands and get off the island a little bit,
Well, you talked about everyone liking food, and we have a Create Culinary Studio here. Are you familiar with it? Have you seen
I think
you
we
may not
had
have seen it in
mentioned. I
action.
haven't seen it in action, but I think when we were first talking about Julia Child, I think you brought it up to me then. I was like, I had no idea this was even here.
Oh yeah, it's awesome because it's a way for us to connect food and science. I mean, every time you cook something, you're doing a science experiment.
Yeah.
And it's a history lesson. We have recipes from the 1700s. We made colonial Jello shots. Our librarian
awesome.
and our history curator found a recipe for colonial Jello shots. It was called rum jelly, and you walk through the recipe, and it's like it can be served in a mold or in individual cups. And our curators were like, it's colonial Jello shots.
That's awesome.
Like, this is the 1780s. Like, we're killing it in the Revolutionary War. We're like, we've got this thing in the bag.
Yeah.
prepare the celebration, and someone's like, I've got just the recipe. let me write to my friend in Philadelphia but we made colonial jelly shots in there. It's not a program we do for the public, but it is a cool space that we have, and it gives us another vehicle to talk about science and history, and like getting kids in there. Like they're making sushi, they're making cake from scratch.
Cool. That's awesome.
Icing it, decorating it, all that stuff. And it's all because everyone connects with food. And it's another entry vehicle to conversation and to education. So from that perspective, Jungle Gyms has food from everywhere.
Yeah.
Have you found that as kind of a way to experience other cultures without leaving the store?
Yes. And it's really funny. I was thinking about that recently because I still do love leaving the store. And that sounds bad when I say it that way. I'm like, I hope you all are listening at work. But no, I mean, because the thing is you get like, I think about it almost like an appetizer, right? Because a lot of people I may not be fortunate enough to be able to travel, don't want to travel, all of these things. So what I kind of love about it is that if you want to experience other cultures, you've got this really easy opportunity to do it, right? And it's like pretty non-threatening. It's just stuff on a shelf ultimately, right? And you can kind of choose your level of adventure. And one of the things I really love is I will see people from other countries come into the store, and I find almost more fascinating than watching like the Americans learn about this is seeing food memories kind of come to life in front of me, right? And I think back, there have been a couple, and I think most of them were weirdly from Brazil, but in particular, I had this family come in from Brazil who were visiting someone they knew in the States, and they were like, well, this is only a couple hours away, so we'll go drive to check this place out. And
you drove from a couple hours.
Yeah,
to see it.
I
Wow.
think I want to say they were either visiting people in Tennessee or maybe it was North Carolina. I don't remember the details of it, but it was.
That's not a couple hours. That's
I know
I
was like, that's at least 4 hours.
Yeah.
And I'm like, I love this place, and I drive 40 minutes to it every day. I don't know how frequently I do that if they weren't paying me. You know what I mean? So I love that people are doing it truly, and. There was this moment of elation where I was talking to one of their daughters, and she was talking about a few different Brazilian candies, and she's like, one of the things I don't like when I leave the area is that if I'm in Europe, I can't find it. If I can't find it here, she's like, and I definitely won't find it in America. She's like, I bet you don't even have a Brazil aisle. And I was like, and then I walked her right to it. She found literally everything she just said that we were not going to carry. And she was elated. It was great. It was like a cute moment. I loved it because I knew there was a good chance we'd have some of it. But it was wonderful. And that was like my first month there. That happens every day. There's always somebody either, I mean, we have people that drive in all the time that you'll meet them and they're just like, I just drove 8 hours to get here. And I'm like, that's crazy. But
That's
awesome. I'm glad. No, I mean, never it's never a bad crazy. I'm just like, wow, I hope I don't ever take this place for granted.
Right.
You know what I mean?
It is sort of a museum in itself. It's a cultural center where you can touch things and put it in your mouth. Two things that you are not supposed to do here at Cincinnati Museum Center. So we're sharing this culture, the history in different ways, but that's incredible because it is not just about someone being curious, like, oh, I want to try this. Let's go down the Japanese aisle. Let's try these different sauces and the candies and things like that. It's about reconnecting with memories, and that's something we take a lot of pride in here because people come in. Oh, I remember coming here on a field trip. I remember coming here with my grandparents or something like that. Those memories come back.
Oh yeah, I've seen so much on social about you guys specifically with this framing in mind around the Barbie exhibit. Right?
Yeah,
it's crazy, and like, I was a toy kid growing up, not a Barbie, and we grew up.
And now you're a real boy,
right? Exactly. So crazy, I can't believe it. But all I had to do was,
I'm a real boy.
meet the devil at the crossroads and make a deal, and it worked out awesome. But but just seeing all these people get so excited about this in a way that I was honestly, every time I saw a post about that, I was like a little upset. I didn't have any connections to any of the toys. I grew up in the same way that so many, it was like mostly women friends of mine, but they had that like deep-seated connection to Barbie. I was like, this is beautiful. I mean, to put it mildly, it was really wonderful to see. And I'm sitting there thinking like, yeah, I love the X-Men, but like, I don't think I'd get misty-eyed if you were like, we have all of the Toy Biz toys from 1993 here. I'd be like, oh, I had that one. And I'd take some pictures, but you really are.
That's what's unique about Barbie, is it's multi-generational. It's sustained for over 6 decades at this point. And so it's touching multiple generations in ways that not a lot of things can. I mean, Star Wars is something that's similar to that. We talked about that off air a little bit earlier.
Yeah.
And Cincinnati's awesome connection with Star Wars, but there's not a lot of things. So
Wait, is there another connection to Star Wars in Cincinnati that I'm unaware of besides what you all did?
So the Kenner Toys.
Oh, Kenner Toys.
Kenner Toys. So Kenner Street is right along our building.
Okay.
And the offices for Kenner Toys was right there.
That's right. And they were the ones doing all the toys back then. I totally forgot about it. I feel like an idiot for even asking. But, well, then I'll just be like, guys, I'm not from here.
What's interesting about the Kenner Toys is it was such a hit. They had no idea that they weren't even ready to ship the toys.
Yeah, weren't they like sending like boxes?
Yeah, they were basically sending boxes or like cardboard saying, here's what it's going to look like. Here's like they couldn't get
that
set.
should be part of the pre-order process these days. I think companies wouldn't want to spend the money. They're like, we could save $12 million by not sending anyone cardboard. But I'm like, you would probably lock in a whole new generation of customers in a very emotional way. That, again, thinking about the Kenner stories I've heard like that, I'm like, oh, yeah, anybody that I've ever talked to that talked about their classic Star Wars toys.
Sticking with toys, during the holidays, in our Holiday Junction experience, we have Toys Through Time.
Oh, cool.
Some of that is stuff we pull from the collections. Others, they're donated by staff members. And so we do a call to staff members and say, what do you got?
Yeah.
And a lot of it is we're looking for stuff with Cincinnati connections. It's awesome because you walk through and you're like, oh my gosh, I always wanted that thing.
Yeah.
My brother got one. I never got one. Or, oh, that's so cool. I remember it always broke in this one place. I've never seen it with like fully intact. And it is like, this is nostalgia. These are memories and they're touch points. And I think a lot of people think of museums as places you come to and you learn, and that's absolutely true.
Yeah.
But it's also a connection point. So, how many dads love dinosaurs, but have kind of grown out of it, and their kids are getting them back into it, and so they come together on that. I mean, Dale's dad and Step Brothers said, "Find your dinosaur,"
Right?
And we are kind of modeling that. And to keep with Step Brothers, just because we can, Brennan's mom is actually narrating an upcoming Omnimax film. So
really?
Spoiler alert, that's fun. Mary Steenburgen. And so
That is awesome. She's great too.
Yeah, so I think we'll have a little fun with that.
Oh my gosh, that's so funny.
But yeah, museums it's about connection. It's not just about walking through. It's not a physical representation of a Wikipedia page or an encyclopedia. Right. It's these touch points. And similar, I mean, it's with the toys we talked about. It's with food, too, because food is multi-generational. You have people who've moved to America, who may first come here in college or something like that, and they think, my grandma always used to make this every weekend, and I can never find it here. And Jungle Jim's has it. It's a way to connect them with their relatives, with their ancestors, with their homes.
Yeah.
And
I think one of the best places about the store, honestly. I mean, again, I know we connect on that too because that's kind of the way I feel as your customer here at the museum. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Where I'm like, oh, cool. I'm like taking in all these things. And no, you nailed it. It's infrequent, I think, about us being museum-like in that regard, but it's so true. And, we've got plenty of exhibits in the store. They're a little less educational in the traditional sense. Like, I don't have a lot to say about the NASCAR over pets, but, like, it's cool.
It's so...
I haven't seen a NASCAR in real life before, and then there's one 100 feet from my desk now, so that's kind of awesome.
The reality is, part of what's so cool about museums is you see the real thing. Everyone has seen the Mona Lisa. You close your eyes, you know exactly what it looks like. People still go because they want to see it in person.
Yeah. They
want to say they've seen it in person. They just want to be there in the room. That's what museums do.
Yeah.
And a NASCAR and Jungle Gyms, why? Yeah. I don't know, but people are like, that's pretty cool. And the reality is, in 2025, it's Instagrammable, TikTokable,
right? Yeah,
Tiki-taki.
Oh my gosh, where was I? I was at some place recently where it was like a boba tea shop I'd stopped in, and I was thinking about this. I was like, wow, all of these little businesses are very Instagrammable, but none of them have a restroom I'm allowed to use anymore. And I found that reprehensible. But I'll send you the picture later on because it is like it has like the neon script sign, like "Be your own human" or some other corny phrase they looked up on ChatGPT, and it's like inside of a little booth. And the boba tea was good, but the whole time I was like, you know what? I bet I can get a drink here. I bet. I was hoping. I was like, where's the restroom? They're like, oh, we don't have one. I was like, that sounds like a lie. You sell drinks. I feel like legally you're required to offer me one, but that's another story for another time. No, going back to the museum thing, I thought about this today. I saw somebody post on social today. I don't know them very well, so I'm like, I don't want to make assumptions, but they were pretty much like, if you have like an in-person business, you're done in the next year. And I was like, that's like the worst take I've ever heard. Like, and to me, nothing ever in life is so black and white like that. And I'm sure all of us will at some. I mean, look, we're in the grocery industry, and we don't use Instacart or any of those like delivery services. And I see the emails; people want to do that.
Yeah.
But the reality is also there's a lot of people who don't want to do that. And I think dismissing them so easily is either being like, old or out of touch or anything like that. Like, I have children that sit in the chairs outside of my booth every day, and they're there because more and more people are like, oh, well, no one wants to go places, so we better not provide a place for them to go. I'm like, foolish comment,
Fools!
Yeah, I mean, look, I think there's space for both. I think both will be successful.
It's fun, real quick, to think about kids sitting outside the booth.
It is very weird.
Like,
I'm just eating sandwiches. I'm like, it's not showtime, guys. This is
like
Jersey Mike's.
When you go to Dewey's Pizza and you're like, the kids sit there and they watch them throw pizzas, and I sit there. I'm like, that's kind of fun to watch.
It is fun, but I know the back of house people, and they're just like, oh, another pizza.
They're just like stressed out. It's Friday night. Oh my gosh! And
I have seen them just throw flowers.
Yeah.
At kids. That's always fun.
they do it to me too, because I'm just pressed my face up there. But you mentioned if you're an in-person business, you're seeing commercials for different cell phones and their different providers like AI and ChatGPT and like their version of Siri or whatever. You see these commercials, and it's interesting the way they're positioning them, because they're positioning it not as a service like, hey, what's the weather going to be today? It's, oh my gosh, I put too much sugar in this thing. Now what? And it's like, well, you can make cookies. First, you're going to do this. And like, oh, wow, that's great. That's so helpful. What should I do next? It is conversational in a companionship way.
Right.
So it's interesting that you say if you're an in-person business, you're going to be obsolete.
I didn't say it. Someone else said it.
Someone else,
yeah.
That you mentioned
just
that.
in case they pull the clip.
Mark Borison said. But what these companies are doing is they're trying to replicate companionship.
Right.
And what you really find is, genuine. This is me maturing, getting older. I'm like often I just crave companionship, and it's like I just want to be around people. I want to talk to people.
Yeah.
I'm suddenly interested in like what are your hobbies? You like, how do you tie a fishing lure? Like, oh, are you looking to fish? I'm like, nope. I just want to.
I know a good fly fishing.
Get into
guy,
what you're into.
If that's really a question.
You know what's funny?
Yeah.
My wife, who is just the most wonderful person, the other day, she goes, "Hey, you want to hear a lie?" And I was like, okay. And she goes, I realize this when we do icebreakers and stuff, I can say anything. And I was like, yeah, you can. She goes, so the next time I'm going to tell people, yeah, I'm really into fly fishing. And people are going to be like, what? And she's like, yeah. And I go, that's so random.
That's awesome.
And she goes, who's going to question it? I go, well, to do it, two things have to be true. People have to be like, I can see that person doing that. And two, you have to know just enough to like shut it down.
Yeah, if an expert comes up, you got to just be like, yes, I know 3 sentences.
But she rattled off so she had
That's
not
amazing.
she was not
so
just
much.
sitting there and was just like got bored and just had a random thought. This is something that was premeditated, and I'm realizing in that moment she said, I'm ready to move this to beta testing.
And
like,
now she's going to have to find a new one since you just outed her on our podcast.
Carolyn, I'm sorry. I'm sorry. It was such a good one.
It's so funny. I just finished this leadership program with the Fairfield Chamber of Commerce. And at the end, I was like, we didn't really do any icebreaker things. They're like, well, what do you want to do? 2 truths and a lie? And I was like, yeah, because every time they hit me with the 2 truths and a lie, I just give 3 lies and see which ones people believe about me the most. I think it's the best.
Give us 2 truths and a lie.
2 truths and a lie. Let's see. My father was Dan Aykroyd. I also once met Dan Aykroyd in Times Square, and Dan Aykroyd's vodka is with me right now in my car.
So wait, no. What can I ask any follow-up questions?
You can ask whatever you'd like.
Does your dad live in Times Square? Like what? Or like,
see, it already worked. He's like,
because I know you're not from Cincinnati. You said you're a transplant.
No.
So
okay, actually, I just realized one of those is true though. I've kind of screwed up my own bit.
But
so I did 2 lies and a truth.
Well, see, I'm just thinking you met your dad in Times Square.
Yeah.
And he gave you vodka that you
That
flew
if
back
only
custom
my
free.
dad was that cool.
It's Dan Aykroyd the pinnacle for you? Is he?
No, I was just trying to do a call back to the beginning of the episode. The only true one is I did meet him in Times Square once.
Did you?
Yeah. Well, even it's like the most embarrassing as like a big Ghostbusters fan, and like I like his comedy, right? But I was like 14. I'd gone back, so we grew up in New York City, right? And I'd gone back to see David Letterman. I still am a huge Letterman fan, but I wanted to see Show Tape live, so I got to see the Show Tape live. But we were walking around Times Square before the show because that's where Dave's studio was. And I'm crossing the street, and I just see one of the most beautiful women I've ever seen in my life. I'm like, oh my gosh. And then I'm like, wait a second. She's the Foxy lady from Wayne's World 1. Oh my gosh, that's Donna Dixon. Who's this dude with her? Oh my God, that's her husband, Dan Aykroyd. And I have like his autograph and everything. He was really, really gracious about it. It was a great experience. And this is a true story. I'll send you the picture of the autograph. It's in my office.
The coffee shop waitress in Wayne's World is Dan Aykroyd's wife?
Yep.
Oh my gosh.
I'm pretty positive that's it. Her name is Donna Dixon for sure. You can look her up. She's like beautiful
Foxy
model.
lady.
Yeah, I know. And I was just like, oh my gosh, that's the Foxy lady. You know what I mean? And I'm like, oh. And then I'm like, oh my gosh. Yeah, it was a very funny moment because it was like perfect age. I was like 14. I'm like, heck yes, beautiful lady. And then I'm like, oh my God, never mind nerdy part, Mark. Like superseded this immediately. But he was really, we're like in an intersection. He's like, oh yeah, I'd be happy to sign that for you. And it was like,
was he very gracious when you did the cone head to him and then you did the Garth Foxy dance to Donna Dixon?
They both were so pleased that I knew all of those references. And as I just took an entire Subway sandwich to my mouth like his daughter would in Conan's, that's like one of the only scenes I really remember from that. And Chris Farley just being excited.
Chris Farley been in it.
Yeah.
My dad loved Coneheads.
I watched it. It was one of those movies that was on, I know there's like a thing that's lost to time now, which is Summers and HBO. And like, because HBO still exists, but not the way it did, where you would like, we would find movies like Coneheads that weren't big hits, but you watch them that summer a lot. What's the one that was on Comedy Central forever with Jeremy Piven? PCU.
PCU,
oh
yeah.
my gosh. That movie was shown to so many people.
John Favreau.
That people to this day quote John Favreau, don't be that guy about wearing the band shirt to the tour. And I'm like,
can you show me where the Pampers is?
What was the and Steve Vai had a song with that title. I think was from the soundtrack. I always loved what was her name, Megan Ward, who was like the love interest in that. And I met her at a con a few years ago, and it was I don't really have much of a great story except that my then girlfriend was very upset that we were being friendly with each other. I was like, chill, it's fine. I'm pretty sure that nothing's happening here. Anyway, Megan and I have been married now for 7 years.
So how did you get into acting? What led you to that path?
It was kind of a joke. Unfortunately, so much of my life is either someone told me I couldn't do it, and so it's spite powered, or I was trying something else. I had this independent. How should I say this? I won't say it nicely. I had an independent radio gig. It was one of those jobs where I was like in my late 20s, and it was like all old dudes, and they were like, we need some young energy here to help get the station going. But pretty much what they wanted is like a scapegoat to be like, it's not us who are the problem, it's these dumb kids. And it was like one of those situations.
Did you have a DJ name?
I just went by Mark because I was just like, Mark in the morning because I was doing their morning show. It was crazy.
Did you have a DJ voice?
I kind of just did this.
That's a good voice.
It feels like, look, I had a weird altercation with Tom Petty in my youth, and it changed something in my brain where I was like, oh, I either have to be the person I want to project myself. Oh, that's a whole separate podcast.
A weird altercation?
Like, he's not nice, and you'd think he'd be the cool. Yeah. Okay, this is insane. This is an actual truth. When you come to do the podcast, I'll show you the scrapbook I have. You will not believe any of these stories till you see the photos. You're like, you are definitely sitting at a table with Bono for some reason, having dinner. I'm like, I know, it was crazy. Imagine trying to tell people that in 1998, and they're like, yeah, good luck, and I had to wait 2 weeks for the photos to develop. You know what I mean? But, Tom Petty, not a friendly guy. And you'd think with his kind of music,
a literal heartbreaker.
Yeah, and then... this was like one of those silly stories that's between my dad and I. But we're sitting at this table, and mind you, at this event, it's like a Rock and Roll Hall of Fame induction ceremony. He had done some work for someone on the board, and so this was like the gift, right? And my parents were divorcing at the time, so it was like, guess who gets to go as the plus one? Me. I was like, great, maybe you guys should have done this earlier. You know what I mean?
Well, you guys...
Yeah, I was like, take a break, I got this. I'm going to go get in a fight at 13 with Tom Petty.
You guys couldn't have done this 2 months ago at the Star Wars convention? Okay. sure you guys had a lovely time.
Oh my gosh. The whole point is Tom Petty not very friendly to 13-year-old Mark. And I decided in that moment, I was like, if I want to be in this field, which I just want, I was either like, I either want to be David Letterman or David Lee Roth. And I look good in spandex. So both are still an option. But, you know, you have that thing where people say, don't meet your heroes. I want to be a good example of meeting your hero, right? Because like, I was just like, all right, if I want to be this way, I have to be comfortable with my life being kind of public. I have to be comfortable with talking to people I don't know. All these things, you know, it's like public facing. You can't have a bad day, even though I don't entirely believe in that. But I just could never imagine being mean to 13 years old. You're kind of a child still. Imagine little dumpy Mark in a tuxedo being like, "Can I have your autograph, Mr. Petty? I love you." And he's just like, kind of F off, right? Like I'm like, it's crazy. And so because of that, that was like how there's no people are like, do you ever turn it off? I'm like, no, this is it. Like, there's no other Mark. Like, you're not going to be like, when I'm at home, I'm like, yes, Cody, I talk like this all the time. You know what I mean? Like, no, this is, for better or worse, this is me all the time.
You're painting tiny little Civil War,
pewter, but like on a
the pewter pants of a little Civil War soldier.
Pewter pants. I love that movie. No, I really strongly believed in that, and I still do. And I was just like, I didn't want a difference between the two. I know we've gotten so in the weeds here now, but I'm like, yeah, oh, no, it was about the acting thing. So because of that, I'm doing this radio show. I get into, there's always a fun altercation. Pretty much, I'll tell the whole story. I don't like the band The Eagles very much, and the radio stations, they like auto-populate the music, and I had freedom enough to like rearrange some stuff, but this 1 hour, it pulled something, you know, in an hour show with like the breaks and traffic and stuff, you'd maybe play like 6-7 songs, depending on the length in an hour. So 6 of the 7 songs that popped in that hour were all Eagles tunes. And I was just like, look, all of you have been listening for a while. You know I'm not the biggest Eagles fan, but you know what I am a fan of? Is taking your requests. So if you want to break this hour up so it's not just an Eagles power hour, I'd love to hear from you. Call me in. And I go to break and I get a DM and his like internal instant messenger client. He's just like, don't ever trash the format. And I'm like, I didn't trash the format. I was just like, I don't like one band. I like you though. I was like, if anything, this shouldn't even be a conversation. I literally was just like, all right. And I left the mic on and I walked out of the studio and that was the end of it. So right after that, I was like, I need to figure this out, you know, because like ever since I was in college, I had professors being like, you need an agent. And I'm like, I don't have any work though. Like all I have is just class projects and most of these people won't take me seriously. So I'm like, you know, I get on Facebook. I was like, I want to book voice gigs. I was like, this radio station sucks. I hate this guy. I don't want to do this anymore. And so somebody connected me with my then agent, PCG Talent. They're like, you got to meet Peter. He's the best. And Peter's like, I don't want to meet you. You have no credits. So then, as all good stories go, I met them at a Cincinnati film. This is like the old Cincinnati Film Festival. This is probably like 2014-ish. And they were doing a beer with Rivertown Brewing. And he showed up, but he showed up after I'd had like the beer ran out. So I was like drinking double IPAs and he showed up after that. And I was so funny. And he was like, oh yeah, nice to meet you. I was like, it's actually not. I heard you don't want to meet me. And the whole crowd just gave him the, ooh. And I hit him with a couple other zingers. And on his way out that night, he goes, you know what? I get it. Come meet me in my office this weekend. He's like 60-second monologue. This is the time. He's like, call and set up the date. And I was like, oh, well, that works. So now I'm like, just being unapologetically myself helped.
Yeah, you had nothing to lose. You thought you'd
no.
already lost. So yeah.
I was just like, yeah, I don't have time for you either then. And he was just like, oh, that's hilarious. And Peter just passed away in 2023, which has been really unfortunate because he was like, we got really close through working together so often. And he was just he was tough. And he was like one of those people that I always say, I was like, you know, you make something and you send it to the people you love and they're like, that's great. And I'm sitting there going like, I actually know it's bad. So I would send it to Peter and he'd be like, here's what's wrong with it. Not in a mean way, but he'd be like, your performance isn't great here. I don't believe this part. Here are the things I would change. I'd be like, thank you. Because he was the only person in my life I could genuinely trust to tell me when I wasn't doing well. And now I kind of have that with Jungle too, where like, he's like, okay, they liken themselves to the flippers at a pinball table, where they're like, we're going to let you find your own way, but if we think you're head towards the drain, we're going to probably kick you around a little bit.
Yeah.
And I was like, I'm cool with that. And they thankfully haven't had to kick me much yet, but no, I think about that all the time, and I was just like, oh yeah. So anyway, so Peter's like, I go to there, I do this very funny monologue about how actors are untalented and they're the least talented people in show business, like jugglers are more talented. Peter loved it, and then we became pretty close from that, and he was just like, I'm going to put you in movies. I'm like, okay. And then I'm telling you, like 3 days later, I'm on reading for the now canceled James Franco movie that I don't think ever came out, that he shot here. I think it was called Goat. But I'm like in a room with James Franco like a week later, and I'm just like, this is crazy, And
that's
one
insane.
Of those, yeah,
Wow.
It was insane. And I really haven't done any film stuff that I can talk about yet, but I think a week after that, I read and booked an ad for White Castle, and I'm just thinking like, is it this easy? And I should mention my whole family, like on my mom's side at least, they're all very creative, a lot of actors, a lot of musicians, things like that. And then I always laugh because like they wanted it so bad, and I just kind of accidentally did it, started booking all these things. And I sometimes feel bad. Like, not to say that I've put a lot of effort and time into cultivating things. And thankfully, I think we're in a place marketing-wise where they are looking for personalities more than they're like, we need an actor for this.
Right.
I think I show up on set sometimes, and I think they're just like, can you speak your native tongue out loud without sounding like you've never spoken it before, kind of a thing. And the answer is, yeah, I'm pretty good at that,
Do you find, does acting translate in other aspects of your life? I mean, there are a lot of people who, acted in high school. Like maybe they did plays and stuff like that, or have done stand-up, things like that. Like, what do you pull from those that translates to pretty much any business or any kind of professional role?
I actually would say it's like kind of different. I joke a lot of times to actors and other roles, we're all like failed musicians. But I think I actually got the most out of like from a creative gig when I was playing music and doing like that whole thing and playing shows in different cities. To me, that was probably the thing that, even though it doesn't sound like it would immediately relate so much, it's stand-up comedy. I've only done stand-up a couple times. I really like doing it, but like when do I have time to do things that I love anymore, right? Like we don't live in that society anymore. With music, it was really like, and I imagine if I had started in stand-up, I'd feel the same way, but you're very exposed, and I was writing original music, so I'm like, here's something I really think, and I'm going to play it for a bunch of strangers in this little dive bar in Chicago, and I hope it goes well. And there's like something about that, don't get me wrong, the first couple times, it's like, oh, I'm not moving at all during this first song, because if I do, it will reveal how bad my left leg is shaking.
Yeah.
But then I quickly kind of grew out of that. So what I learned from those was just like, in life, you're always kind of like the baseline is already no, right? It's like you have nothing to lose.
Yeah.
But if you go try things, you can potentially turn that no into yes. But if you don't do anything, you lock the no in. And I hate that idea. I don't like the idea of that. And so it's like,
That's so good.
getting on stage and trying these things. It was like, yeah, okay, well, what's the worst? Somebody might laugh at some lyric I wrote that I thought was a good idea, or they might hate my song. But then I was like, oh, I hate a lot of songs and I hate a lot of lyrics too. So like, we're all in this boat, baby. Like, let's just do this. And now I'm just like not really afraid of anything. We joke about my dad earlier a little bit, but like one thing I will say he really was good about doing and prepping me in life is he was on the road a lot for work. He would always make me call, and I'm like 7 years old, like calling hotels for him, like, and you don't know what to do. I'm like, I don't even know what to say to these people. But
I still don't know when I make a phone,
Same.
like when I make a doctor's appointment.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Yeah, like how much probing is there today? Hilton. But like those little things I think about so much, like help prepare me for everything in life, because now I don't know a stranger. I'm not I don't have like that fear of engaging in those spaces that I think I see a lot of my peers being like, oh gosh, I had to call the doctor today and I just don't know what to do and I'm paralyzed by this. Instead, I'm like, well, I also don't know what to do, but what I do know how to do is at least just ask the questions or whatever it takes in that moment. And I hope when I say things like this out loud, I'm encouraging other people to like just give it a shot, because it's never as bad as you're afraid it is.
Well, I think what you're really hammering down on is authenticity. That your agent believed in you because you were authentic. You weren't trying to fit something that you thought that he wanted, he needed. Authenticity also takes guts, because you have to show your like bare self.
Yep.
Like not everyone's just cool in the sense of, we think like, oh man, growing up I always thought this person was so cool. People aren't just effortlessly cool. We're all kind of nerdy or dorky or
sure.
kind of odd in our own ways.
Yeah.
but people respect that authenticity, and I think that's so cool and so important.
Yeah, I always heard that as a dating tip. They were like, "Oh, share your passions, people will love you." But like, it's not just a dating tip. That's just like how you should get through life. You'll probably like this movie reference because the way I always see it is the scene. You ever see Unbreakable with Bruce Willis?
Yeah.
But there's that scene where he finally accepts he's like the superhero and he goes in the crowd and he just puts his hands out as people walk by and touch his hands. And I think of that shot all the time. I'm like, that's how I feel in life. Like, not that I just want people to brush by my hands, but I'm like, yeah, because like, it's a physical manifestation of him like connecting with all these people. I'm like, that's what I want,
I think this next question is it's going to show a little bit of your authenticity. This is a very Mark-based question.
Ooh.
What is your Mount Rushmore of gas station snacks?
Oh, this is a great question. Slurpee, first one. That's my George Washington. Okay.
Do you have a color? Do you have a flavor, or just any?
I would say.
Is it blue?
So I think actually it's going to be red. I know
Okay.
That's my controversial take. This is
Classic.
This is a controversy in the Borison household lately because I'm pretty sure she prefers blue aggressively. Right next door to one of my sets of grandparents' house was a 7-Eleven, which now is ubiquitous, but back then was not the way. It was very limited. But they had the Slurpees, and I remember being blown away when they'd bring. By the way, I don't remember blue raspberry really coming into existence until I was like in my 11 and above age.
Yeah, that's probably true.
And so back then it was like, I think it was almost exclusively cherry, and then they would surprise you with the Coke Slurpee, and then you'd get cherry and Coke together. And then, I'm like in kindergarten going like, wait a second, you can mix flavors at the gas station. Let's go on. So Slurpee, hands down, number one. While I don't know that these are a gas station snack, I am a pretzel fan overall, but there's this one in particular I really love from this brand called Unique Snacks. I just tagged them in a post. But they do these things called pretzel thins, and they're just like, imagine little mini pretzel rods, but they've been hollowed out, but still retain the integrity and crunch of a pretzel. So it's like not as heavy. You can like still use it in dips and things of that nature.
Do they make you thirsty?
Not as much as my Costanza wallet would let you think. Let's see what else is on there. I'm gonna go sour gummy candies. I'm really open-minded.
Just any of them, like Sour Patch Kids, gummy worms.
Yeah, I would say like any of them. Sour Patch Kids. Growing up, my answer would have been unequivocally Sour Patch watermelons. But I do think they use way less citric acid or malic acid in the candies these days. They're not as sour.
My wife would agree with you.
Yeah,
she was always a big Sour Patch Kid fan, and I would like crow her watermelon Sour Patch, and she would never eat them, which was kind of good because I would. And I'm like, the statute of limitations, you've not eaten these. But she said they're not as sour.
Yeah, I 100% agree with that. So I've kind of fallen off a little bit. And I'm chasing the sour dragon. You know what I mean? I'm just like, where do I find it? We just went to Sweets and Snacks Expo last week, and all these people were like, would you try this sour thing? And then so many of them were absolute disappointments. And I'm torn between being like professional and being honest with these people. Like, what'd you think? I'm like, which version of me do you want to talk to right now? And they're like, I guess the honest one. I was like, great, 6 out of 10. They're like, are you serious? I'm like, yeah. Where is the sour? And they're just like, I can't believe you're saying this. I'm like, have you ever eaten another product with sour branding on it? One of us is lying, and I know it's not me. Did
you have a Warhead in the 90s? Come on.
I did, and then they brought them back like a year or two ago in the classic packaging. I was so excited, and I remember those things ruining my life. And they are still sour, but I was like, I enjoyed it. And maybe I've changed. You know,
ruined your taste buds for the next
That's
week.
what I'm wondering. Right? Exactly. I was like, I had like a hole in my tongue.
I did do 7 Warheads at once, and that was intense.
Oh, that
was bad.
I kind of want to do that now. Look, when you all come on my show, this is exactly the stuff. Make a list of all the products we talked about. We'll eat them together.
Did you look like the...
Pretty much. The worst part is
the bag?
when you swallow and just all that juice, all that is pretty much just acid.
Oh gosh,
you're swallowing. Yeah, that was.
See, that's making my face pucker more than the candies are these days.
Yeah, you got a real De Niro face going on right now. Were you at a pool when you did this, Mitch?
Nope.
Oh, really?
This was actually at college. I was just like, let's eat 7 Warheads.
Yeah, why not?
This is what happens when you empower like 18-year-olds to make their own decisions and
That's
send them away from home.
That's the kind of wild shenanigans I got up to in college. Was
Bowling Green.
Yeah.
Just
love it.
All right, you owe us one more Mount Rushmore.
Oh
snacks.
yeah, I got you the sour gummy candies. I got the ice
pretzels,
I got
Slurpee.
pretzels. That. What is a good one? I think my fourth is often an alternate when I'm on the road trips because I am so focused on the first three. I'm like, look, I don't want to just answer blindly Coke Zero because that probably is the answer if I'm being the most honest. But I think I'd probably go for something kind of chocolatey. You know, I've been hot on recently due to my international travel. Was thinking about caramel M&Ms again, and overseas they have them as sea salt, so they are surprisingly salty. Oh my dude, my carry-on bag was just like tiny bags stacked with these salted caramel M&Ms. We got them in the Jungle Gyms once. I'll never get. This is a pro tip for any of you out there listening that shop at Jungle Gyms. I saw them that morning, and they were part of like an Easter display we brought in, and I was like, hell yeah, I'm gonna go get those on my way out tonight. Sold out that night, and I've legitimately not seen them in almost 4 years until I was in Europe.
I had some crispy marshmallow M&Ms recently.
That sounds fun.
They're nice.
Were they good?
Yeah, my wife hates them. They're awesome.
The one I hate
Carolyn's got a lot of play on this episode.
Yeah, look, I'm trying to get everybody a brand deal. I love Pepsi products across the board. They've always been really good to me, especially since the commercial. That helped a lot.
And you can do the do.
Yeah.
Mellow Yellow just doesn't hang.
Honestly, Mountain Dew is, I hate to be like, it's so good, but I also get why like the entire South has ruined all of their dental setup over it. I get it. I'm 100% in agreement.
The only redeeming quality of Mellow Yellow is Days of Thunder.
Oh, for sure. Oh, my gosh.
All right, we got 2 more questions for you.
Cool.
1, if you could have any job in the museum, what would it be? What would you want to do?
I think I'd be the Omnimax projectionist.
Yeah?
I think that would be the job. I think that just suits me. I always loved how when it was the multiple projectors of the film, I was very excited for that.
Yeah.
I'm sure it's a little less exciting now as a digital file, but that room is just so cool that I would be in between screenings being like, how do we get GoldenEye on this?
Like, boop, boop, boop. Yeah.
Right. It'd be awesome. I love that room. I mean, well, you know how often you let me in there.
We'll get you in here. We'll get you in here. We'll give you a tour sometime.
That would be awesome.
Absolutely.
Actually. Yeah, I love that so much. I think that would be the job, honestly. Otherwise, I think I'd like to be like maybe like a special exhibits curator if that's a thing.
Yeah.
You know?
What exhibit would you want to curate?
I'd have to know what exhibits are out there, but like the Star Wars costume
Just make
exhibit,
one up. What would you want to make an exhibit of?
I think a confectionery tour, like a candies throughout history, would be fascinating.
That'd be awesome.
I would do things like start with someone like a Milton Hershey type, right? Look, all that stuff. And maybe it could maybe just be like snack foods in general, because I think that would be such a cool exhibit that you could see, imagine just walking through and be like, this is what Coke bottles looked like when they first were invented. And this is the evolution of this design here, right? Here's how gummy candies came to exist and the why. Why are chocolate bars so readily available now? Oh, well, it's because Milton Hershey invented. I know a lot about this stuff, obviously, but I was like,
you've watched a lot of Mark Summers.
Oh my gosh. Well, one of my friends does this show, The Food That Built America.
Yeah.
Have you ever seen that?
Yeah.
Jason's awesome, and he's gotten me like even deeper into this. But when I first started on Jungle Gyms too, I was like, I love chocolate. I'm going to go eat the fancy chocolate since they're buying it for me now. And then I realized how bad American candy is compared to anything else on the planet. Like we should feel bad. One of my favorite facts I found out was that American chocolate has the lowest amount of cocoa required on the planet in order to be considered chocolate, which is 10%. And the next lowest is double that. Imagine like the next worst thing you can get is twice as much chocolate. And so then when I started learning that they like don't really restrict that overseas, that people, I remember growing up, they're like Swiss chocolate, but it's not just the Swiss. It's like all of the European chocolates are good. And then now you see what they're doing in Dubai, and like the Dubai chocolate is, I think, our number 1 most sold item right now.
Really?
Yeah, it's crazy. And even those, I don't even know if they're made. All of them are made over there, But it's like Dubai style chocolate. But even still, like you can just taste it. And another fun one, I go back to the Hershey thing, right? Because the Hershey method was Milton Hershey figured out that if you like let milk spoil just enough, the bars would stay longer on shelves, because back in the day, a shelf life of a candy bar was like a week, and it would either melt or whatever. So if you ever eat a Hershey bar, there's like that little sour note in there, like a little bite. That's a thing called butyric acid. And the reason it tastes so familiar is that it is the main flavor component of vomit. So if you ever meet a European and they say American chocolate does not taste good, when you say, what do you mean? They're going to say, it tastes like vomit. And the reason why is they're kind of right. But we've just been trained to be like, that's how it tastes. Now, I don't think it's as common in like the other American brands, but Hershey for sure. I kind of like it. I hate to admit that, right? Yeah, I like a Hershey chocolate.
Yeah.
And I'm like,
because you've been trained. Like,
I've been indoctrinated into it. I'm like,
palate.
Yeah. It's like, the butyric acid's in me now, and I'm adding more to the tank. I think this works.
I think this one's an easy one for
Okay.
you. If you had a walk-up song, what would it be?
Christina Aguilera's Beautiful.
It fits.
It would surprise.
Yeah.
Imagine me walking out of like a Monday Night Raw And that's what's playing.
Well, people can't see, but you are wearing one of those like little belly necklaces that Christina Aguilera would wear.
It's not even just that. It's actually
2002.
the entire outfit from the Genie in the Bottle music video. I actually was a little disappointed you didn't catch on earlier. It's a full replica.
I didn't want to draw attention to it because I thought we were... Yeah, I thought we were just going to...
I mean, that's fine. Well, once you brought up the belly, I'm like, look, we'll do the belly dancing for the TikTok afterwards.
Mark, this has been awesome.
Thank you for having me.
I appreciate it. Yeah, thanks for joining us.
I love you guys. Like, for real, like, look, you're getting the other authentic Mark right now. But genuinely, I really love coming out here. I think it's so cool what you do. And even, like, the classic exhibits. We just played around recently in both, like, natural. I love getting on the steamboat. As simple as that was. I was like, it was great. Yeah, and it's those little... Look, I keep going back to the whole... People are, as much as my Facebook friend says that people might be shying away from this, sure, some people are. There's what we're really learning now, you can think about this with like certain diagnoses and things like that are coming out. What we're just learning now is that everybody's a little different and we all have different interests and needs and things like that. And there's a place for everybody. So like, I think this weird push towards like, we're all going to just be trapped in our house forever. I'm not. And so I love coming to the museum. I love playing with this stuff. And it's packed here in a good way all the time where I'm like, I see families enjoying it and engaging. That like fills me with joy in a very strange way where I'm just like, people are engaging. I love that, And they still, look, if you were sit online, you'd be like, oh my gosh, everyone's the dumbest person ever all the time. They have no interest in learning anything. But then you go to a place like the Union Terminal here and it's like, yeah, you see large swaths of people who are proving that feeling wrong all the time. And one of my favorite experiences is being wrong because it means I get a chance to grow. And that sounds really trite when I say it out loud, but I genuinely mean it.
There's so many nuggets we can take from this and make a motivational poster with like an eagle flying over a lake or something. These are going to be...
Put it over the fountain out front. That's the water feature.
It's going to be your face superimposed on on an eagle.
That would be amazing. Yeah, I can't wait.
Mark, come back anytime, Mark.
Well, I'm looking forward to having you both on the Jungle Gyms podcast.
Yeah, we can't wait.
We're looking forward to it too.
Yeah. Crossover. Thanks for joining us. Most importantly, come see why this place is so wonderful for yourself. Check out cincymuseum.org for the latest reasons to visit. And of course, if you like the podcast, rate, review, and subscribe. If you have any questions or you just want to tell us how much you love the show, send us an email at meanwhile@cincymuseum.org. We'll catch you next time.